What up, motherfuckers? It's the hater back again. All right, it's been a week. I'm sorry about that. I've recorded a few videos though. I recorded them a few days ago, but I wasn't sure when I wanted to release them, and I just kind of, put it off, and I'm gonna just time them today so they all come out this week at some point. And I'm gonna start making a lot more videos. I've decided I'm gonna record one video a day, motherfuckers. The one video a day keeps the hater not away in this case, but you know what I'm saying, motherfuckers. So now we're gonna talk about the horror show at Extreme Rules. Now let's before I start talking about this, I just want to preface it by saying this. All right, I did not watch this show. I started watching it, but I honestly couldn't make it through. This is one of the only times in my life when I had to turn off a wrestling show, because typically when I start watching something, I'm locked in. I'm not changing the channel. I'm gonna finish it, But this was unbearable. I could not tolerate this. It was impossible. Knowing what was coming forward, knowing what was going to happen near the end of the show, the last few matches, knowing what I had to look forward to, I could not continue watching, right? I was not enticed by any of the main matches. So I was like, all right, let's just save some time and cut it here, right? But I did watch some highlights and I did read about it. So I do think that I am perfectly qualified to talk about this shit. All right. Also, before I start, I just want to say this. The hater channel is going to become more of a serious channel, in the sense, not serious, we're still gonna have fun, but I'm gonna take it more seriously, you know what I'm saying? I know the last few months, once I hit that 500 subscriber, I kind of took it easy on myself. I was like, oh shit, you know what I'm saying? I did it, I can just keep growing. But then I realized that, I really enjoy this, and I know people enjoy it too, so I'm gonna take it seriously, motherfucks. I'm not gonna be I'm gonna do it here and there. No, it's gonna be a serious endeavor. With that being said, let's get started, motherfucks. First match, Nakamura and Cesaro versus The New Day, right? Now, if there was any match on this pay-per-view, and this one I actually watched, if there was any match on this pay-per-view that was worth watching, unfortunately, it was this one, right? This was the best match I would guess. I don't care if the other matches were good or not, because I can see here the results, and I can tell you they weren't good matches. So there's that right there. The New Day pisses me off, all right? Kofi Kingston sucks. I'm sorry. Kofi Kingston is not a good wrestler. In my opinion, he's one of the worst in-ring wrestlers of all time. I'm not even exaggerating. He botches 8 or to 10 times every match, right? He botches every other move is a botch. He does the SOS, it looks like shit. He does the Trouble in Paradise, it looks like shit. Every kind of running move where he jumps off of something looks like shit, right? But I will give credit where credit's due. Kofi Kingston, though he botches a lot, he tries to do crazy shit. So it's okay if you botch when you're trying to do crazy shit, right? It's okay, Daniel Bryan never botches, but Daniel Bryan has moves like a running knee and just kicks to the chest and a flying headbutt. I mean, these are moves that, if someone told me right now, if they said, hater, do these moves, I would not botch them. I'd be able to do them all, I think as well as Daniel Bryan. So that's the problem, right? But if someone said, hey, do a double springboard into a twisting cross body like Kofi Kingston does, I'd be like, I don't think I can do that, motherfucks. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the thing. Kofi Kingston reminds me of one of my best friends in the world. Both of them are from West Africa. My friend also was raised here. I think he moved here when he was 4 or 5. So he's an American for all intents and purposes, right? They went to school in Boston. My friend went to a better school, you know what I'm saying? But that's neither here nor there, right? So he reminds me a lot of my friend. They have the same interest. My friend really likes this kind of parkourish type shit, But here's where the differences end, right? So what I'm saying is I have an affinity for Kofi Kingston because he reminds me of one of my closest friends. However, I was thinking, I'm would my very good friend, would he find things like Bootios humorous? Would he think that throwing pancakes is funny? I don't think he would, motherfucks. And my friend is also a big Dragon Ball Z mark. When I say he reminds me of Kofi Kingston, he's very much like him. You know what I'm saying? Very much the same kind of attitude, like a fun guy. You know what I mean? Except I think my friend is honestly more athletic than Kofi Kingston. But that's neither here nor there. The point I'm trying to make is this, right? A character like Kofi Kingston, right, is someone that is comparable to real life people, right? My friend's a great guy, but he's not larger than life. You know what I'm saying? He's just not. People aren't. He's not Undertaker. You know what I'm saying? And with that being said, we have to understand that Kofi Kingston is neither larger than life, and as evidenced by the fact that he thinks things like Bootios and throwing pancakes around is funny, right? That, I think, proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that he is a fucking loser. And all of New Day are fucking losers. They're not cool people. They come out there, they're we're going to take a knee for Black lives, right? And I'm just all right, I appreciate that you're doing that, you're standing up for what you believe in, but it's dude, the implicit premise of I'm going to take a knee is like people have to first care about you, right? Like people have to first give a rat's ass about what you're doing for them to be like, oh, Kofi Kingston took a knee. Nobody gives a fuck. It's a fake sport, right? And you're not cool enough. So that's the problem, motherfuckers. If Undertaker took a knee, be like, oh shit. If The Rock took a knee, be like, oh shit, like someone cool actually did it. You know what I'm saying? So there you go, motherfuckers. That's what I gotta say about that. Yeah. So here, motherfuckers. Cesaro and Nakamura win the match. Ricola bomb through 2 tables. The finish was good. The match was all right because it's a tables match and because I think the correct team won. You know, I'm sick and tired of New Day being these placeholder champions. Like that's all that happens. It's like when there's no tag teams anymore, like when Cesaro and Sheamus stop being a tag team, they're like, all right, put the belts on New Day until we find someone else that we're going to push as a tag team, right? And then that tag team dissolves, and then it's like, all right, put the belts back on New Day, you know? New Day, they're just placeholders. Like, they're not entertaining. They're just placeholders. It's just like, all right, put it on them. You know, it is what it is. Xavier Wood has been like tag champ for like a year. He hasn't wrestled in a year. It's the most ridiculous thing ever, but it is what it is. So, the finish was good, but the match was shit. I was watching with my girlfriend, and she was like, this Japanese guy is the worst one of all of them, right? And I could completely understand why she thinks that, because Nakamura did nothing. He did no moves. All he did was like kick people, around a little bit, and then Cesaro did the swing, and he did the Kinshasa while Cesaro was doing the swing. That's all he did. He did nothing. You know what I mean? Like, he was there to like break up not pinfalls, but to break up, table attempts and things of that nature. He was there like doing punches and kicks, but he didn't do anything impressive, because Nakamura never does anything impressive. He's just not an impressive athlete, Like, my girlfriend and I didn't say anything because, like, I was almost embarrassed, right, at what we were watching. But there was a point where Nakamura was dragging a table from under the ring, and he was trying to set it up. And he failed, like, 3 or 4 times. And my girlfriend was like, he can't even lift the table. And I'm like, I know. Like, he can't even fucking lift the table. Nakamura is so unathletic. He can't even lift the table. This is what, like, we have gone to now. Now, Nakamura, he has his little charm, people like him, I get it, but he's not strong enough, he's not athletic enough to be a wrestler. That's the problem. It's like, I don't want to see backyard wrestling. I want to see someone grab a table, put it up with confidence, grab the guy and spine buster him through it. Not Nakamura set up a table barely, you know what I mean? So that's something I didn't like. Up until this point, I was like, all right, like, I don't even want to watch it anymore. So this is about where I turned it off. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Bayley match. Bayley defeated Nikki Cross. I couldn't give a fuck. I could not give one shit about this. Everyone knew that Nikki Cross was not going to win. Obviously, the feud is Bayley and Sasha. No one cares about Nikki Cross. She is a placeholder wrestler. No one cares. She's on her way to being released. Like, they released 50 people for COVID. If they were to release 60 people, she'd be gone. You know what I'm saying? So no one cares about her whatsoever, right? Alexa Bliss was there too. More on her later, motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? Next up, we had MVP defeating, quote-unquote, Apollo Crews by forfeit. This was built on Wikipedia. It says singles match for the United States Championship, right? And I guess Apollo Crews didn't show up for whatever reason. This part I did kind of watch. And like, MVP had the new U.S. title. So I'm like, why isn't MVP the U.S. champion now? You know what I'm saying? Let's click on United States Championship and see who the champion is right now. Current champion is Apollo Crews. Well, how can it be the current? He forfeited. So I guess it doesn't count. It was a complete waste of time, right? Over here it says it's number 8 under the results. One of them is a dark match, but it wasn't even a match. It didn't happen. So like, that's the first match that was fucking retarded, right? Next up, we had Seth Rollins versus Mysterio in the eye for an eye match. It says here, this is why I didn't want to watch it. It says, the match could only be won when one competitor extracted an eye of their opponent. Now, we all know that's not going to fucking happen. So this is a waste of time and an insult to my intelligence. I didn't give a shit. I don't give a shit about Rollins. I knew he was obviously going to win. Rey Mysterio deserves so much more than this. Rollins sucks. All right? So I didn't watch this garbage. Asuka versus Sasha Banks. Who the fuck cares? I don't care at all. You know what I'm saying? Apparently, this match also didn't happen because it ended in a no contest somehow. I don't know how it happened. I don't know. I don't care, right? Now, on to the Extreme Rules portion of Extreme Rules, motherfucks. A lot of these matches weren't Extreme Rules matches. I mean, I guess the eye for an eye match is like extreme in nature, you know what I'm saying? But thus far, the tables match was the only one. Now we actually have an Extreme Rules match for the WWE Championship. But the stipulation only applies to Ziggler, right? McIntyre is forced to wrestle like a normal rules match, right? And Ziggler has the opportunity to, use weapons and things like that. And if McIntyre gets disqualified, he loses and therefore loses the title. Now, I didn't watch this match. for the obvious reason of this is a Raw opening match. This is the kind of match that you get after a pay-per-view where Drew McIntyre comes out and says, I'm still the champion. And then like Dolph Ziggler comes out and says, I want to challenge you, Drew. And then they have a match, and then there's one commercial break in the match, and then Drew McIntyre wins. But here, it's like a pay-per-view main event, you know? So I didn't want to watch it at all. I don't give a shit. Then there was Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman, which also has an NA, not applicable under times, right? Because it's also a horseshit non-match. I didn't want to watch this shit, but I read about it, and it sounded retarded, right? First of all, apparently there was some Sister Abigail appearance. She had some sort of snake, you know what I'm saying? Bray Wyatt continues to further embarrass himself. One of the videos that I already pre-taped was 25 reasons why Bray Wyatt sucks. So be on the lookout for that one. However, I will say this. I think I have to make another 25 reasons already why Bray Wyatt sucks based on this match. Based on what's happening. You know what I'm saying? At some point, Alexa Bliss appears and tries to seduce Braun Strowman, right? So how do you explain this in kayfabe, right? And then Braun Strowman gets dragged into a lake or some bullshit, and the Fiend appears. Now, I went on Twitter just to see how people would react to this, right? And the reactions, a lot of people were like, wow, what great storytelling, hearkening back to the mixed match challenge when Braun and Alexa were partners. And I'm like, how the fuck do you think this is good storytelling? This is retarded. This is stupid. Alexa Bliss, people are like, Alexa Bliss is now Sister Abigail. Oh, what a great idea. Shut the fuck up. That's fucking retarded, man. It's stupid as shit, you know? And that's the problem. The problem is people don't understand what good stories are, so they think that, like, Alexa Bliss being alluded to in the swamp match is good storytelling. This is the same thing that people were saying during the John Cena Bray Wyatt Funhouse flavor horror match, whatever the fuck it was. They're like, oh, John Cena coming with, like, you know, an NWO shirt harkens back to the fact that, you know, CM Punk once called him the next Hulk Hogan. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, who cares about that? That's fucking stupid. That's not good storytelling. That's called neckbeard smart storytelling. You understand what I'm saying? Nobody likes this shit. Nobody who's a normal person likes this. You know, I know a lot of people are seeming to enjoy these cinematic matches because they're like, it brings something different. But that's not what I want. And I believe that's not what most people want. Most people don't want something different when they watch wrestling. This would be the equivalent of, like, you know, season opener, right? You got season opener. You got the Dallas Cowboys up in this motherfucker versus the Washington, whatever the fuck they're going to be called. The Washington Cuckolds, let's call them, right? Washington Cuckolds, right? You have them have a football game, the first game of the season, you know, division rivals. But instead of having a match, it turns out that, like, whatever, like, Dak Prescott's, like, his wife appears to him in a vision, and instead of a football game, you have a cinematic storytelling, right? Where one person's driving to the swamp, and it's a swamp football game, right? What the fuck would that be? I'd be like, what the fuck is this shit? You know what I'm saying? I'm here to see people play football. I'm here to see something that's semi-serious, at least. You know, it's the same thing with wrestling. You know, I watch wrestling to watch wrestling. I don't watch wrestling to watch shitty cinematic, like, you know, episodes, right? If I wanted to watch that, I'd go watch Mayans MC or Sons of Anarchy or Rescue Me or Animal Kingdom or a sleuth of millions and millions of shows that are better produced and more logical than this. You know, if anyone ever thought, oh, it would be great to see Undertaker show up in Sons of Anarchy and battle Clay in a Hell in a Cell cinematic match, like, that person has no business watching wrestling. That person should go watch, like, fucking, like, that new show on Netflix where it's like some broad, she has a sword and she goes and kills dragons. Go watch that shit. You know, go watch it. Stop ruining wrestling for people like me. You know, I don't want to see weird shit like this, right? Most of us don't. That's why most of us have turned the channel. You know what I'm saying? But stop ruining the thing that I like. It would be the equivalent, it's the equivalent of video games, you know? A lot of people are pissed off that, like, the SJW agenda has gone into video games, right? They're like, oh, you're ruining the thing that I like. That's how I fucking feel about wrestling, motherfucks. That's how I feel. When you bring this anime nonsense, you know, all this, like, goofy shit, like people sticking thumbs up each other's asses and throwing imaginary grenades in the middle of a match. You know? That's how I feel when I see Karrion Kross come with a fucking stupid-ass hourglass and be like, the clock is ticking. He hasn't done shit since then. What the fuck happened to the clock ticking? He did that, and then he, like, left. Now he's wrestling like that fat guy from Australia. You know what I'm saying? This is how I feel when you ruin the shit that I like with dumb shit like Karrion Kross or these other jobbers. You know, or things like, oh, the Boneyard death match. Like, I don't want to see that shit. Leave that shit for Japan or Lucha Underground that draws 15 people. You know, like a company like Lucha Underground that draws 2,000 viewers and wants to draw 3,000, they can afford to experiment with shit like that. WWE that has drawn millions, they have a winning formula. But instead of continuing that winning formula, right, they have this over-reliance on dumb shit like the Bray Wyatt character. Nothing good has come from this, man. I can't think of a character that has been more of a failure than Bray Wyatt. Furthermore, here on Wikipedia, it says Bray Wyatt defeated Braun Strowman. So why isn't Bray Wyatt the champion? Why wasn't this match for the title? What the fuck is happening here, man? So that's what I gotta say about this pay-per-view. I didn't watch it. I'm happy I didn't watch it. And you know what? Just because I didn't watch it doesn't mean that I can't say that this was the worst pay-per-view I've ever heard of in my life. This sounds like shit. Like, let's go over to the matches really quickly. Cesaro Nakamura versus New Day. All right, that's like, at least it's a wrestling match. That's how we have to look at these things now, motherfucks. We have to look at them and be like, oh, okay, at least it's a wrestling match. Yeah? So, that's a wrestling match. Bayley versus Nikki Cross. I guess it was a wrestling match, but it's like a women's wrestling match that went on for far too long, it looks like. So I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? MVP Apollo Crews, not a wrestling match. Rollins versus Rey Mysterio, eye for an eye match, not a wrestling match, it's retarded, right? Asuka versus Sasha Banks, apparently it ended in no contest, so I don't consider that a wrestling match. Drew McIntyre versus Dolph Ziggler, wrestling match between two mid-carders. And then we have Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman in a non-wrestling match. So out of 8 matches, 3 of them, at most, you can argue that 3 of them, well 4 if you count the pre-show match, are wrestling matches. Half of them are somehow screwy finish, non-wrestling matches. At a pay-per-view, motherfucks. At a pay-per-view. And this is, if you also give credit to dumb shit like Bayley versus Nikki Cross that no one cares about, and Drew McIntyre versus Dolph Ziggler, which is not a pay-per-view level match. Dolph Ziggler is not a pay-per-view level competitor. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I gotta say about that, motherfucks. And with that, I'm out up in this bitch.